The crab. They nuked the crab. Raiders unhappy. So Halondrus and Anduin have been nerfed rather hugely. So the time required for the volatile charges to trigger a charge detonation is increased to 30 seconds from 10. It's pretty big. Charge exposure duration increased to 32 from 16. Earthbreaker missile damage reduced 20% in Mythic. Changed the pattern of the Planet Cracker beam during Phase 3 on Mythic. Reduced his health 10% Mythic. Reduced the Eternity Engine damage by 10% on Mythic. So that's big for the crab. For Anduin, the Despairs and the Doubts, 15% Heroic and Mythic. Health nerf. Wow. Befouled Barrier absorbs 10% less healing in Heroic and Mythic. Fiendish Soul Explosion missile travels at 20% slower. In those difficulties, the Monstrous Soul health reduced by 6% in Mythic. The Lost Soul's Banished Soul cast time is increased to 12 from 8 seconds. And the Grim Reflections Grim Fate haste bonus reduced to 200% from 250. So again, big nerfs. And then for J. Lore himself, melee attack nerfed, health decreased, martyrdom damage decreased, torment damage decreased, Boon of Azeroth buff increased by 20%. Bad timing for Dakor's Guild.
Yeah, there's certainly a conversation here. Like,
yeah, it's... You have to think about why. Why have they done this?
yeah,
And I think they've evidently seen a fuckload of drop-off from guilds. That's clearly got to be the reason.
Yeah, which leads to an entirely different conversation about Mythic difficulty. Or like, why does Mythic difficulty exist? But it doesn't exist because Mythic difficulty isn't, hey, here's Mythic difficulty. It's Mythic. It's hard as hell. Go and try it if you want. But in this case, it's clearly like, well, it's not try it, it's wait a week and then it'll get easier for you. Wait 2 weeks, it'll get easier for you. And I think that has this really, especially for like guilds who are going to feel this really negative experience like Dakor's, where they're the people who want to play this hard game. And even they've been told to fuck off because the game's going, oh no, we'll make it too hard for you, we'll make it easy. And that's not what these players want. It's the same with like the ultimate progress in FF at the minute. The execution requirements on Dragon Song's Reprise so far are fucking insane. Straight up, like, this is going to be small percent, like this is going to be like sub 1% clear probably for a long, long time. And that's fine because it's really hard and it's only for the insane hard people. Whereas this, they kind of go, it's for the Race to World First players, here's their version. But we have to change the difficulty every week or every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And it's just like sliding scale. Whereas as far as this should work, gear should be the power curve going up.
Yeah.
So you should be going up. You should see this obstacle and then get better and get stronger over time and then climb it over it. But in this case, it's just the obstacles are arbitrarily there. You're getting participation trophies in the sense where it's like, oh, we want to beat that boss. We're fighting it. And then something goes, nope. You win, congratulations. And that's not what these hardcore players are going to want.
It's funny that we even felt that.
Yeah.
Going through fucking normal mode. Remember, we were doing all of our stuff, and then it was just the week of, hello, here's double Legos, and we've nerfed everything.
Yeah.
And what would have been, okay, we did our bit of progression, let's go in and get the kill, turned into us kind of laughing at the fight.
Yeah, and like that's the thing where people have this stuff on. People want the experience of this is hard. Can I do it? No.
Yeah, so
it's like Culprit said. It's a time limited difficulty. If you want to beat it at 100% power, be better. And I don't think it should be a time limited difficulty because this shit's going to be the difficulty for months. And I think it shouldn't just be a free win for anyone who tries it. It's like clear rates, yeah. If engagement's dropping off because people are frustrated with it, then that's kind of a problem where you don't have something to satisfy that player that's the right difficulty. And that's where maybe heroic should maybe harder. That's a whole different kettle of fish. I think that's really difficult to satisfy everyone. Yeah. But it's like if they're doing it because it's drop off, then maybe the number stuff. But the fact that specifically that it's Halondrus was just like, yeah, no, sorry. Sorry, we've just made this heroic light because this mechanic is now irrelevant. And you're like, well, you're wasting so much time tuning this. Yeah. Week after week after week. You already waste enough time from the majority of your players by making the Race to World First difficulty and then having to nerf that and tune it live when you're supposed to be sleeping or making other content. And it's just that thing of it seems like there's an atrocious amount of effort put in here. It's effort that a lot of players at least as they're saying it, don't want it to be. And it's like, are you eroding the fabric of the sustained difficulty by dropping it this way? I think that's one of the things of you when you feel the developer's hands too much.
True.
It's like,
then what do they do when they look at the numbers and think, oh fuck, they're dropping off like flies. Why did we even bother making this content?
Yeah, that's the counterpoint.
That's the other side of it.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're
For sure.
From the perspective of the people that this impacts, it's really annoying, and we're only going to hear that. But from their perspective, they're fucked either way.
Yeah, for sure.
So, lesson: everyone's fucked. As for some community reactions, Nagura, I understand why they have to nerf bosses. I'm okay with that, but I think the bigger underlying issue, if there's a gap between the best guilds and the lowest guilds, and that's so insane that they're not playing the same content, then how the fuck does that work? The best guilds don't play for loot; they play for the achievement. Yeah. So essentially, just how does this work? So one solution would be having Heroic drop the highest item level and scale the difficulty up a bit, and then have Mythic be the hardest, scale everyone's item level, and only drop cosmetics, like Ultimates, basically.
Yeah, so I actually completely disagree with scale everyone's item level, because that would remove the process of powering up from players, but I think it should definitely be Mythic should be designed to be done. Mythic should not give you stronger gear. It should just give you the appearances, like for week on week.
Right.
Maybe you kill a boss and get all the appearances, so it's not like a farming thing. Then you have room to make them harder, make them more, we have to do this once. We can kind of clutch it out and feel good, instead of we have to practice this till we have it perfect.
I think for it
should definitely be heroic item level only, because I feel like that makes it just this one big sprint of a challenge. And then it can be harder and better designed, because you have almost... Because you know what people are going to come in best with, right?
Yeah.
So then you can design for, this is what we expect players to win with a 20 group of this BIS or close to it. We can design about that solid thing. Instead of having design an extremely hard difficulty for 20 people who are either somewhere in the range of really good to holy shit, these world first raiders are actually cracked. You've got like that range, and then you've got the range of gear, and then you've got the range of specs, and then you've got the range of strategies and classes. So if you could remove some variables, Mythic might be better overall, and then you spend less time later on.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing where, people want the gear, then most will quit. That's kind of the thing where, is it working the way it's working? If it is, then that's fine. But there's signs here that it's maybe not working quite as well for as many players. And if you want to go, well, the players who just play to get BIS from Mythic, how many of you pull them all into a room and ask them, would you play this if it didn't give gear, but it gave you sick looking stuff instead? That's kind of I feel like that's the future looking solution that saves them a lot of time on balancing.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I'm trying to think it through, because it's so...
Yeah. I mean,
just playing the 20-player format, this point, so we don't really need to do it again. But
yeah. Well, like the important part there is make sure the heroic gearing system is at least like enjoyable for them. So they do have to. So they do like you get to do Mythic. So say we've got 11 bosses. Maybe the first 3 or 4 bosses are designed for a small gear scale of late normal to heroic gear.
Right.
Because you don't get all your heroic gear week 1 of heroic, right?
Yeah.
That's not how gear works. You can get pretty good gear from spamming out Mythic pluses, but you want like a very small limited of gear curve, and then you're in the raid, you're halfway through the Mythic raid or a third of the way through, you're now maximum power. Now you just straight line to the finish.
It's just incredible combat challenge after that.
Which is never going to be, fuck, we'll come back next week with more gear.
The thing Blizzard might say to that
is
that the Mythic gearing loop
means
that lots of people will go and continue to farm a Mythic raid. Therefore, by doing that, you erode a bunch of gameplay. Now, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that's maybe what Blizzard would say in response to that.
Yeah.
Even if people do think it to be quite agreeable.
Yeah, that's...
In which case, I guess it's just like, yeah, sure, get playtime from elsewhere.
That's right. Where, like, if I was talking to a Blizzard developer and they said that, the first thing I would say back is that gameplay, or are people leaving that experience satisfied? Are people leaving farming Mythic satisfied? Or would they rather raid 1 day a week instead of 3 days a week? Are they more likely to stick to your game that way? Because how much of that time is monetized?
Yeah.
If you're like that way inclined, or how much of it is good? Because playtime isn't the king metric. Playtime's definitely not the king metric for in other parts of the industry. Because I've played Horizon Forbidden West for, I think according to my statistics, about 51 hours.
Whoa.
I remember fucking nothing of that game. I feel like I played for 10 hours. Whereas there are games I played for 6 hours, and I will remember them until I die.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the thing I think a couple of super engagement focused and metric focused companies could maybe sort of think about sometimes.
Yeah, I think different when it's a sub game.
Yeah.
And they like those hours to be spread out.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, I suppose that's fair. That's fair.
For Scripe, I'm okay with bosses being nerfed. My solution would be a pre-nerf challenge mode version and item level scaling, which would allow old raids to be playable and ever. Even as aside from this,
that's a good
cool
point,
feature.
Yeah, honestly, the idea of like, actually, yep, that's perfect. So you could also then just turn old Mythic raids into content if they weren't tied to the gearing loop. And that's a fucking great idea. Imagine, well, I mean, that's how ultimates work. They're a little bit easier now, but it's like they never go away from being a challenge. You can always go back and go, well, I want to do UCOB. I want to do Ubu. I want to do the Epic of Alexander. And that's like, yeah, you can just do that. Not as hard, but you can do it in as content. It's like, imagine going and doing, here's Throne of Thunder Mythic. Because Throne of Thunder is the go-to, obviously. It's like, then there's all your playtime. Basically. It's just, yeah, have you cleared every Mythic? No, go back and do them. Like, fuck you, okay. Okay, I will.
Yeah, and like for other sort of pro opinions, I guess.
Yep.
Same for THD, same for Flex, really. Max, wow, I don't think a hard mode or hard boss has ever been nerfed that much all at once. Alondris is truly dead. Pieces. Yeah, says it all. Echo, just everyone's joining in, so it's quite interesting. And
see, that's
even in the non mythic realm, us in the normal and heroic realm had the same reaction whenever they gutted Anduin and some of the other fights. In the same week, we were already naturally getting a nerf because of double Legos and also lining up with people getting tier. It's like you didn't need to nerf Anduin because we just got our double Legos and a bunch of us got our two-piece.
Yeah, well,
why did you nerf him?
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious because they want progression to happen at X rate. So they see progression happening, and the progression is, players going, up this curve of power and up this curve of skill. It's not technically correct to call it the same curve, but, player capability versus a boss goes up over time.
Yeah.
Like I said, the boss should be here, and it should go like this. But instead, they're like, they're not fast enough, so we'll pull the boss down to meet. And then you end up doing it way earlier than before you hit the power curve and the skill curve. And they're like, that was disappointing. Because you never, well, I mean, I'm sure people do, but it's the same with like PvP. It's not satisfying when you win against an opponent that didn't challenge you.
Yeah.
It's satisfying when you actually had to fucking try.
Well,
that's where a lot of the satisfaction is.
Or if it's a pub stomp.
Yeah.
And you just feel like, I've ruined the days of 10 other people. I am a true alpha.
But
that's a part of PvP.
But that doesn't happen in PvE. You don't go, I just fucking shit all over Andon. What a dickhead. What a useless boss. Have destroyed him. Yeah, fucking idiot devs couldn't make that hard because it's a challenge dev set up.
Yeah.
In your heart of heart, it's all arbitrary. It's the challenge that makes it meaningful. And I don't mean like it's the super hardcore, this is tested you to your limit. You've tried this 800,000 pulls and your fingers are bleeding, the blood spurting out of your nose like you're deadlifting a fucking ton. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, being engaged as a player.
Yeah.
And that's like, they kind of, by undercutting the bosses, they kind of cut that away from people, potentially.
Especially if you're like in Dakord's guild or like in our guild in little, normal mode baby town. I mean, you guys are doing heroic right now.
No, we're really not because we barely have played together half the time.
Kind of ran out of humans to raid with.
Yep.
But like, it even felt bad for us doing normal, and that's like the one place where you normally wouldn't expect it. Just because we go through normal, then we go through heroic. But obviously with Shadowlands not being the best experience, that's been hard to field comps for. But it's like it hit us, hit Dakor, it's hit all the top people. I wonder who's actually happy about this. Is there a silent majority that we're completely missing out on? Who knows?
Yeah, well, that
seems iffy. You know what? It just seems like they missed the mark initially, and it's not performing their goals.
Yeah, but like, so it's very rarely I will advocate for like big mythic guilds and stuff, but their reaction to Halandris being basically, as they see it, was it Max said, truly dead?
Yeah.
I think that goes to show that they really love that fight. And they're mourning the fact that the fight that they loved is gone. Other players won't be able to do that fight. Other players won't be able to have that fun. They'll, especially because like the mechanic was nerfed so hard. It's like 10% health nerfed, sure. You now have 20 more seconds to pass the heated potato bomb. Bit different.
Yeah.
Bit different.
Ah, dear. So that's that.